about it. I don't try to watch it from this like really biased, like my side has to be right thing. But anyway, I would say maybe where you bring up how you took the drone up, right? And he brought up hyperbolic geometry. I debunked that when we talked very clearly. But this is what I do want to say before we get into anything specific like that. Like, don't you guys find it interesting that almost every time I'm in a debate, the person that I'm debating is super condescending? Almost every time, right? I mean, like Ozian may be one of the only exceptions. Like Ozian wasn't extremely condescending. He had his moments or whatever, and it got kind of heated for a second. I think we debated with Karen. But it's like you guys seem like you're so all about the virtue of not being condescending. And dude, every time I'm in a debate, the Glober is incredibly arrogant, condescending, gaslighting, poisoning the well, interrupting, and you guys don't have anything to say about that. So can you guys help me understand how you're so up in arms morally about Caleb supposedly being condescending, but when the Glober does it, it's cool? Like, can you guys acknowledge that you maybe have a bias?
Do you want to name somebody that does that?
Everyone in here was just talking about how Caleb was so condescending, but I've never heard you guys talk about.
I didn't say that.
I could speak to that. So, either. Like, I watched some of the Caleb stuff, so I sort of had a tactic to address that when he brought it up. And I said
he didn't know how to prove infinite. He didn't know how to prove infinite. He said there's infinite planes.
Oh, yeah, that was a bad argument from Caleb.
So, there you go.
Oh, then he refuses to look up Zeno's paradoxes because I recommended it. I'm like, dude, come on.
No, the Earth is not infinite, but like, and he did actually kind of flip it on you though. Like, right, you kind of think that about your universe, right? Because it's the edge of the visible universe is supposedly 46. The universe
is maybe infinite. Yeah, maybe.
But this is one part you really got wrong, Ozian. Okay.
I just want to address that. I do call people out. Like you asked a question to us, and we do. It is Max's show. He's hosting tonight, but
yes,
it's fine. I do try to call people out. Like, people criticize me all the time because I'm not mean to you. What's it? Like, I get messages all the time that I'm not an asshole to you.
Isn't that weird? Like, I know I openly admit that you are one of the better Globers when it comes to like etiquette, right? Like, but like, isn't it weird that people would reach out to you and be angry that you're not rude?
If I may,
got some flack for that too when you guys debated.
Give me just a moment. The reason that kind of happens, Austin, is because you're a hard opponent to debate, and I don't have a bias towards you, but you are. It's very difficult to go up against you. So when that tends to happen, the strategies have to come out because you're a hard opponent when it comes to debating. You're wrong, I think, in regards to the flat Earth, but you are really good at debating. And that's why these kind of things come along. And you do have sort of a strategy of your debates. And that kind of counters. And we saw that on the last debate with William. But before we continue discussing, I do want to ask the question to Gek, and then I have the question noted down here in my trusted copybook, and we'll keep it going. Okay, Austin? And what's the best argument for the globe tonight for you, Gek?
Yeah, so I think, well, first I want to address that other point, because Witsit, when you and I debated 3 years ago, I don't think I was condescending at all. In fact, even a lot of flat earthers said, "Oh, Gek seems like a nice guy," other than the ones that were just kind of condescending and mean, I thought, and I didn't think I was mean in that debate at all. But as far as the best evidence, I think, and it didn't go down this way, and I would have liked to get there, but it just so was inflammatory tonight that when we look at the scientific method and we're talking about the observations and some of the experiments, I think one thing to point out is a lot of these experiments in the scientific community, it's not one person that does an experiment. It is this same experiment that's done by hundreds or thousands of people, and it validates it. And we started going down that, but then I don't know, the debate went in so many different directions. it didn't really just get to it. It didn't seem like you could even have a substantial dialogue or conversation to follow in the debate.
Okay, but like I think that both sides got to where they were diverting and obfuscating, right? One of the major problems with these debates, and Gek, honestly, I don't remember debating you. I vaguely do kind of remember you not being like overly like aggressive or anything. I don't really remember, but because it's a long time ago, I debated a lot of people. But like with these debates, flat Earth, quote unquote, it's such a big topic. We're talking about the Earth, right? So there's like a million subtopics. So what happens in these debates is they just start going all over the place. They're hard to follow. The conclusion's never drawn out. We never reach the conclusion of a point, very rarely, right? And so really what should happen is people should have like, okay, we're going to discuss motion of the Earth. They should be like more specific. In a real debate, you send your other person the resources you're going to use or the outline of what you're going to say. Both people prepare and then they go in there and they debate, right? These are much more just like go in there, guns blazing, and nothing ever happens. So like an honest assessment is that there was a lot of obfuscating on both sides and it kind of got into like a pissing match. That's what happened. But I do want to make this point to you real fast, Ozian. Okay, there's a few things that like you guys have got to stop saying. Like I'm thinking about asking James to let me come on as a glober and literally and wear my glasses and defend the globe and show you guys how to do it. Okay, because there's some things you guys have just got to stop saying. They're just wrong. Like for one, Eratosthenes, bro, there's no primary documentation of that actually happening. And so just talk about the actual test, not the guy supposedly doing it. There's two stories. One's a well, one's not, blah, blah, blah. And when he says he had to assume the Earth's a sphere, that's correct. He assumed the Earth's a sphere, assumed a distant sun with parallel rays, right, to even do it allegedly. Now, if you read the story, he couldn't have done it. He could not have done it the way they said. So bring up the test. And then the problem with that is if you look at the two compared, right, a flat Earth and a globe, they're significantly the same until greater distances, to pretty vast distances. And of course, you can take a flat table and make it a sphere, and we've done that with math. But now, where's the test where it's been precisely measured at vast distances all over the Earth to show that it's actually a globe? The main story is that he only used two shadows anyway, and the story isn't real. There's no primary documentation. So why have you guys not taken it to that point, which is like, here's a modern version of it. You guys all tell the story about what happened thousands of years ago that isn't even supported. You see the problem with like, that's just a terrible argument. If the Earth's a globe, what you guys are doing is making more flat earthers by arguing the globe poorly. And this is like my honest good faith critique. I'm telling you that I get emails all the time, and I'll stop ranting, that says, watching your debates woke me up to flat Earth. And it wasn't just you, though. It was how your opponents acted. That's the number one email I get. It's how they ducked and they attacked you and they used all these tactics and they wouldn't answer your questions and they couldn't admit they're wrong and blah, blah, blah. So I'm telling you guys, if you actually think it's a globe, if you think flat Earth is like dangerous misinformation or whatever, you guys should like polish your tack because you're making more flat earthers.
You don't need primary.
I think Simon and certain people do that. Yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah, like certain people that are making YouTube videos, Creaky Blinder, people that are making YouTube videos, they try and make it entertaining. So they want to make it entertaining. I don't know if they're purposely being condescending, but I get what you're saying. Maybe
I'm against the condensation. But it's also entertainment. I get it with it, but I have two complaints. So you are correct about Eratosthenes, but we do have snippets of his writings. There's a book that was published is called Eratosthenes Geography. I actually own it, and it has all of his works and stuff like that. He was like a polymath. He did much more than just this measurement using the well and whatnot. And number two was they had this big test where a bunch of students at school all over the globe repeated his test and used those measurements. It's like over 100 data points around the Earth and confirmed that Eratosthenes' measurements are correct. So it matches the prediction of a sphere.
Oh, see, okay, we've actually dove into that supposed test, right? And it's super shoddy. What should happen is there should be, first of all, But I'm saying, okay, cool. Like we should do it again where there's actual people, not someone that's like, I need a certain answer for my test to be true. It's just like when people claim you do Cavendish in universities. Dude, the reality is you can never do a Cavendish in a university with some first year student and get a reliable gravity measurement. That's a fact, right? They just did the like most sensitive, precise Cavendish ever a couple years ago, right? And dude, they had to take electrostatics and electromagnetic phenomena into an account to such precision, it's mind-blowing. It was the world's smallest one, and they put a Faraday material inside in between the two masses and blah, 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 grounded it, discharged it, did all kinds of stuff. If you're going to go do it in some random classroom, you're not proving gravity, right? So don't bring it up. Like what I'm trying to tell you guys is there are arguments that you make that whenever the flat earther makes a good point, which is, yes, you're right. Eratosthenes did a lot of things, and we have his primary documentation for almost everything. But when it comes to this story, we don't. We only have secondary documentation, and it's two different stories that contradict each other. And he only did 2 shadows anyway, according to the story, which doesn't prove globe or flat. So stop bringing it up because a flat earther figures that out and hears every glober keep saying it anyway. And they're like, wait, what? Why do all the
wait? Do you think trade winds affect flights?
Well, that's not the.
That's what
hold on. Let's take anyone wants to stick on the.
That's one of the arguments that Caleb made. Sorry. All right.
No. But let's stick a little bit on what Witze brought up. Does anyone want to respond on the Eratosthenes experiment? Because I do have it on my notes for the show.
I thought
for the debate later.
Yeah, I thought that I read it in his book, but I have to go back and look at his book.
Let me be more concise with my question to you guys. So you know how like Big Think did a video against Flat Earth, right? And it has Michelle Thaler from NASA, it has Neil deGrasse Tyson, and it has like Bill Nye, you know, right? And one of the things they talk about is Eratosthenes, and they say, you know, 2 shadows would work the same on a globe or flat Earth. It wouldn't prove anything. But once you add a third one, then you can begin to differentiate. There's some truth to that, only you need vast distances. You need vast distances and many data points. You absolutely do. You have to have more than 2. So if the story is that Eratosthenes only did 2, he quite literally didn't prove the globe, even if that story's real. So why bring it up?
No, I'm pretty sure
I didn't bring it up.
Would work because you've got your first 2, and you could explain that with the flat Earth by saying the sun is X distance away, and so it's causing that shadow at that angle on a flat Earth. The third point, you can do the same calculation with the first point and the third point, and you'll get a different altitude for the sun, which disconfirms flat Earth. Either you're
making my point.
2 separate altitudes at the same time, or the Earth is curved.
You're making my point that you have to have 3 data points at least to even claim to differentiate. The mainstream story of Eratosthenes is that he only did 2. The story is ridiculous anyway, bro. How did they know they took the measurement at the exact same time? One's a well, one's not in a well. All this, but the point is very simple. The story is he did 2 measurements. Okay, you can't differentiate without 3 measurements. So it's not that he quote unquote proved it. The still man from your side is we got a good estimate of the size of the Earth as far back as a couple thousand years ago with Eratosthenes using that sticks and shadows method and then reverse engineering circumference than a radius, and he got within like 7% accurate or something. That's the only thing you guys should even say about that. You should never say it proved a globe.
Well, it was actually not. It was later works that were quoting, like the evidence of his test was later works, supposedly snippets of Eratosthenes' early works. I can't remember the guy now. I studied the history of the measurements way back when, but they weren't sure about the distances that were being used. And this other guy, I think it starts with a P or whatnot, he thought it was a different measurement and that the Earth was much bigger or much smaller than it actually is. I think he thought it was much smaller. That's it. He thought it was much smaller, and that's Columbus was actually using those calculations from this other guy that was interpreting snippets of data from Eratosthenes. He thought the Earth was like 1/3 the size that it actually is. So you're right. It didn't prove like the shape of Earth. It did make a prediction that's later become true within a certain percentage of air. And that's all I try to say. But it was asked to me. I didn't bring it up in my
No, you're right. You're right. You didn't bring it up, but almost every glober says that we proved the Earth was a globe thousands of years ago, because it's a gaslighting talking point to make the flat earthers look so stupid that they believe in something so archaic it's been disproven for thousands of years. When you actually look into it, Aristotle said he thought the Earth was a sphere. He's the first one to claim that. He said because the sphere is the perfect shape. Okay, it was a philosophical idea, and then supposedly he looked out and saw a boat disappear. That's the story. Now, he didn't have a telescope. He didn't have anything that he could have brought it back into view with. And then they said the moon looks like a sphere, so the Earth must be one. None of these things are proving that the Earth's a sphere, and they were like an anomaly. The rest of the world didn't think that. So when you guys say, you gaslight flat earthers and say they proved the Earth was a globe thousands of years ago, an honest person in the audience goes and researches what I just said, and then they're like, why are all the globers lying? If the Earth's a globe, you're hurting your side by not just being forthcoming about all of the different details. You see my point?
Well, I can't speak to the motives of anybody else, but when I bring it up, it's not to assert we've known for thousands of years. It's to demonstrate that we can do experiments ourselves without any fancy equipment. As we just discussed, you can do it with 3 sticks.
But none of you guys have actually done it. And what we did was we took a flat table, we took a desk, we put like 50 different little nails on it with a local light source, right? We measured the shadows, and then we showed that you can take the math, assuming a sphere, and you can actually map out how that table is a sphere.
I don't think that would work.
And
it did work. We did it, right? And one thing that you would need is just, you need some type of like refractive effect with a lens, like some type of lensing effect. If you have any type of evenly distributed lensing effect, then you could easily say that the Earth's a sphere just by assuming it mathematically. It's already been done in depth, right? We've done it and we've shown that you can do that. I'm open to doing a test, but this is the parameters of the test. There would have to be one globe earther and one flat earther at least at every single location that we take a data point from, right? That's the only way to do it fairly. Because what happens if you're in university, you're supposed to get a certain angle, you kind of assume it, and you just rock with it, right?
I agree. However, I'd wonder about the Jeranism effect. Like, if it did prove a sphere, would every other flat earther just say, "Oh well, the flat Earth guys dropped the ball. They must have done it wrong"?
See, that's another thing that makes flat earthers. People claiming that Jaron proved the globe. Because what they do is they go listen to Jaron and they find out that actually it was closer to the flat earth prediction than the globe. That they admit that the people that directed the movie admitted that they chopped it up to be misleading. They said they heard that children were believing it at the conference. So they decided to make the movie a hit piece on purpose. That's their own words in their own email. So then they hear Jaron's side of the story, which is, no, it was inconclusive. It was closer to the flat earth prediction than the globe. Yet everyone runs around claiming Jaron proved the globe. So then you're making
and MC2 did the math and showed that Jaron's result was dead on for a globe prediction. Not
only if you assume
it was dead on.
No, that's objectively wrong. You have to account for you have to apply refraction. So what McToon did this. He went and moved it until he got the right number. So yeah, if you look at where the globe predicts, you look at where it actually was, and then you just arbitrarily move a graph around until you get the right value of refraction, that doesn't in any way equate to perfectly matches what the globe predicts. That is ridiculous to say. It's ridiculous to say that. Also,
I don't know. It sounds like you're hand waving, Austin.
No, you just said it's perfectly matching what the globe predicts, but it doesn't, because you have to arbitrarily back engineer the value of refraction. How could that be a prediction? What if it wasn't 7/6R, it was 8/6R? Which one does the globe predict? According to you guys, the globe predicts anything. Everything that's observed is automatically a prediction of the globe. Even if you need 30/6R, that's a globe prediction. So to say it perfectly matches is literally not true, right? So when someone goes and looks into it, I'm just telling you, you're making flat earthers. Same with Bob from that movie. Everyone says, thanks, Bob. Thanks, Bob. They don't tell you that Bob took it to different altitudes and showed that it varied over a degree at the same latitude.
Yeah. I just want to point out really quick, going back to comments about Aristophanes. So I have Aristophanes' geography, and it talks about that Aristophanes said, it was not necessary. Okay, the idea was still new enough that Aristophanes felt it was necessary to make his belief in it explicitly clear, that is, that the Earth was a sphere. At the same time, he asserted that the Earth was not a perfect sphere. So this was Aristophanes. So in his book, it does discuss that he thought the Earth was a sphere. That's where it comes from in this book.
Well, yeah, of course. But the test itself, he documented everything he did. If you look in Eratosthenes, we have tons of primary documentation from that guy. But when it comes to this test, the only thing anyone brings up about him, we don't have primary documentation. We have secondary documentation, and there's actually two different claims with different secondary documentation. One is that he did it with a well, and one of them is that he did it with something else, not a well. The stories don't even match, and he only used two, so it doesn't prove a globe. My point is, bro, that these are little petty, like Flat Earth 101 things that the pride of the glober won't allow them to stop saying, because they think if they concede to a flat earther on anything, that somehow they're wrong, or that makes them stupid or whatever. And it's damaging your own side. Now, trust me, I don't care if you do it, because I don't think the Earth is a spinning globe. So if you keep doing it, it's fine. I'm telling you guys out of good faith, because I would rather see more productive debates on modern day debate. I would rather see 2024 be conversations that have actual intellectual depth and value, as opposed to these same redundant day one misrepresentations where people interrupt each other.
Well,
so I'm going to stop talking about it. You guys can take it or leave it.
I do have another question. Hold on. What's it really quick? You brought up the Cavendish experiment, like the really precise one with all the grounding and stuff like that. I think I've seen that video where they show the laser on a vat board and they mark it off. Is that the one? And I mean, what are they measuring there if it's not gravity? Well,
Grayson actually jumped on my Skull and Glover show Wednesday and brought this up. I'd never heard the specific test. I think it's 2021. Mm-hmm. And it's just the world's smallest ever, right? So it's like the mass was very, very small. I think 50 milligrams or something like that. And what they did was they grounded everything. They discharged the masses, which I think were made of gold. Then they put a Faraday material in between the two masses, and then they put it in a Faraday cage, and it was a vacuum sealed chamber. So they went out of their way to do everything they could think of to remove the variable of static electricity, right? And then in the paper, they admit that there's still a possibility that a large percentage of the effect is attributed to static electricity. So what that proves is, when all the flat earthers have been saying, rightfully so, dude, if you just go do it in your shed, or what Cavendish did, or do it in your classroom, you're not accounting for static electricity enough. That's 10 to the 36 power stronger than gravity's even claimed to be on the small scale. You could never claim gravity's right. And you guys all say that we're wrong and you can ground it. That's all you have to do. Universities with the most precise Cavendish ever just 2-3 years ago disagree with you, right? And so that's another argument that you guys should let go, because it is not true. Right. Yeah. It's not true. So I haven't looked at the paper. He claims that their conclusion was that it wasn't a small enough mass to experience the Casimir effect. So they can, quote unquote, exclude it because it would be negligible, which is a very bold claim there. The Casimir effect's not even fully understood. Right. And then that when they do the math, that only a certain percentage of it could be attributed to like electrostatic attraction, and that they think the rest would be gravity. And it fluctuated, but then they did averages. They accounted for certain errors, and I think it falls within the margin of error to accept it as gravity, right? So I'm going to look through the paper and we're going to discuss it and all that. But do you see my point, though? My point is that test is the only thing you can even claim is getting remotely close to verifying gravity with the Cavendish, because they did really small masses with highly precise measurements with tons of things they did to try to account for electrostatics.
Give me a moment. Would you answer the question? Robin sent us a question, our very own Robin Webster, $5, which did explain the motive for hiding the shape of the Earth for 2,000 years and how it has continued.
Yeah. So
care to answer?
I don't think the shape of the Earth has been hidden for 2,000 years. I think that when people came up with that, they were anomalies. They were vastly the minority. China still thought the Earth was flat in like the 1800s. So they were a minority. They came up with it philosophically. I don't think that the Greeks were trying to deceive the world or anything. I think they were weirdos. I think they did a lot of ayahuasca, did a lot of drugs. Frankly, they liked little boys. They did these weird rituals and they philosophized a lot. They literally had little boy like servants, and they were weirdos, and they came up with all kinds of ideas. And you guys don't want to talk about their ether ideas, or how Aristotle said there's an ether with a vortex, and it's called the fifth element called quintessence, right? We just talk about them philosophizing about a sphere, and that's cool. But I don't think that they were trying to lie to anyone. But for many hundreds of years, well over 1,000, most of the world did not think the Earth was a globe. The first physical model of a globe wasn't made till 1492. 1492, right? So that's 1400. I mean, that's just that's over 1,000 years of no physical model of a globe. But then the question is, why do they lie now? If that's the question, I think some powerful people, right? They saw that it took a very long time for this globe model to actually kind of be ironed out and work. And they thought, dude, we're going to tell people that there's only so much land to explore. There's a finite number of land. And so no reason for you guys to explore. We've discovered the whole thing. This is how big it is. And I don't know why you guys wouldn't understand that, because throughout all of history, what's always been fought over? Land. What have kings always tried to take? Land and resources, to the point that they were killing men and women and children and infiltrating them with all kinds of stuff in their civilizations to take over their land, right? And people go out and explore land. That was the number one thing sought after all history. So if a group of people got together and they realized, dude, if we tell everyone that the earth is finite and we know how big it is, whatever other land there is ours. That means all the resources are ours. That right there is sufficient motive to hide the nature of the earth, bro.
Well,
Wait, do you think Freemasons control everything or something? Is that what you're saying? Because I've heard that.
No. Because like if you look at even in the 1800s and
I've heard you say that shit, maybe.
1800s, 1900s, many people were still writing about how the earth is not a globe. It was even being taught in certain schools in the 1900s. So now though, yes, there's a monopoly on textbooks. Absolutely.
I couldn't find that.
Parallax was writing about it.
Yeah, I do want to.
Sorry.
I do want to. Yeah, so there was a thing like on. I'm not concerned about the conspiracy theory. I get Robin wants to know, but you said a thing about like we didn't know the Earth was a globe until 1492, or wasn't like a theory. Like we knew, like based on Aristophanes' work and work after Aristophanes. I can't remember the guy's name specifically. It's just there was controversy between what size the Earth was, and Columbus thought it was like a third of the size that it actually was, and that he could sail to India quicker going west than it would be to go east. And that was the controversy, was the size and scale of the globe, not the fact that most people believed it was a sphere.
First of all, I didn't claim that no one thought the Earth was a globe until then. I said the first physical model of land on a globe that was made was not until 1492.
The oldest surviving globe is from 1492. The first one recorded was from Crates of Malleus in 1st century BC.
Oh, so there's no actual physical evidence of it, but you're claiming it was there. Okay, and
historical records.
Well, yeah, historical records of what? Who? It was in a museum or something? Because when you Google it, it's actually going to tell you that the first globe was that other one.
Surviving globe.
Okay, that's a cool story. But now, even
but what's so funny is
that's what I'm saying. This is why I actually think that you guys basically are my employees. Like, I'm not worried about it, because you make flat earthers. Because all they have to do is go research it and find out that the vast majority of the Earth thought the Earth was a stationary geocentric plane. And
what's your source for that?
That's a fact. And so, like, what's
your source for that?
All of their own cosmological representations all over the world. So whenever people
every culture with sailors knew the Earth was round, because you have to take the globe into account to get your ship from point A to point B. Every one of them. That's why the Greeks were talking about it.
That's another lie, right? So that's a good thing you brought that up. So what were we told in school? That Columbus proved the Earth was a globe by navigating, right? Going east to west. So we were told you can't do east to west circumnavigation unless the Earth's a globe. Now they don't say that anymore in the textbooks.
They were wrong.
The textbooks were wrong. The textbooks that brainwashed the world were wrong. That's right.
I proudly admit that the claim was not that it was Columbus thought it was smaller than it was. You're correct, and we don't teach that story correctly, but I do. Professor Phil went out of his way to come up on stage, and I want to bring him into the conversation.
And also,
Okay.
Tyler, welcome to the show, both of you.
Oh, this is gonna turn into a shit show.
Why do you say that?
Because Percival's gonna start being really mad and interrupting, and maybe not. Percival, I'm gonna give you a chance, brother. I believe in you.
I have
Can I
the
ask you a
power
question
now, and
first,
I'm
man?
really trigger happy with the mute button, so we're good.
We'll see,
Can I
man.
ask
You've been
Wizard a
getting your
can I
chance
ask
to
Wizard a
speak. Don't bash
question
the
then?
show like that.
Well,
Sorry,
can I-
sorry.
Tyler, Professor
Or no, wait,
Phil,
I'll let him
welcome
go
to the
first.
show. Tyler, give us a summary of the things we've discussed. Who do you think won? And so far we've done the question, what was the best evidence Ocean brought to the debate? I'm going to ask this for both of you.
I thought Ocean very well spoken. He did get a bit rattled towards the beginning, but he certainly gained his composure after the first quarter. He made a lot of very, very valid points, although I should probably state my bias that I'm a bit of a globe earther. It's a subject that I've looked into a lot. Considering the current subject matter, I think it's worth pointing out that there's actually a lot of missing history, and there are stories about people saying that the Earth exists on the back of a turtle, and it could be because they kind of had like this middle ground worldview where they understand that there was a bit of a curvature to the surface, but they didn't know what was on the other side of it. It has mostly to do with oceanic folks like Hawaiian, Pacific Islanders, things of that nature. So I would sooner
the Phoenicians.
I would sooner believe that if there was a cover up, it would be that the cover up is that there's a globe, and that's because, like I said, there's a lot of missing history, and the flat Earth seems to have come right around a particular time as a result of religious belief. So it could very well be that people back in those days, like the days of antiquity, as I mentioned with the monoliths, it was kind of a well accepted fact that the Earth was a globe, and nobody really debated it back then until the religious sects took over. So it's just some food for thought. But thanks again for having me. You're all wonderful.
Oh, thank you for being here. And Professor Phil.
Yep. Okay, good. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, terrific. Okay, I just want to address this Aristophanes thing. Well, first of all, yes, there's no evidence that he didn't assume that the Earth was a globe, and he should have. Otherwise, he would have been an idiot of his day. Because everybody else, he was actually known as the father of geography.
Yes.
Okay, so he wasn't just some ordinary unknown person. He was extremely famous in his time. In fact, he was the curator of the Alexandria Library. So we know a lot about this guy.
Yeah, that was my point. Yeah,
he was also written about by other very famous geographers whose works survive today, namely people like Strabo. Okay, so this business about whether Aristophanes existed or not is just a complete nonsense. All right, so having got over that, let's talk about the actual measurement. Now, according to the works, and this is detailed by Strabo and others, that the angle was taken at 7.2 degrees. Now, if you work that out, just with simple trigonometry, okay, you will find that if the Earth was flat, using those numbers, then the sun would have to be 3,958 miles above the Earth. So, if you want to be a flat earther, you have no choice but accept this. Okay? So, if the sun is 3,958 miles above the Earth, let's apply that to real-world observations now. If you are looking at the sun at the horizon, let's say in our beautiful city of Perth, looking straight out west, towards the east. Sorry, the west. You'll see that, the sun is at 0.5 degrees off the horizon, west. then this sun would have to be, if it was 3,958 miles high, that sun would have to be 346,000 miles away for this to work.
For what
Now-
specifically to work, man? Can you keep your point? Can you make a concise point?
Okay, if the sun is 3,958 miles high, and it's 0.5 degrees above the horizon, in other words, just about to set, then it must be 346,000 miles away for that to happen.
For what to happen?
That's just maths.
For what to happen? I understand you're saying the value of if you say
In other
it's-
words, the sun would have to, the GP of the sun over the flat Earth would have to be 346,000 miles away.
in order for what observation specifically to happen?
From the person who's watching the sun at 0.5 degrees above the horizon, at that time, it would have to be 346,000 miles away. The real figure is about 8,000 kilometers away, so 5,000 miles away. That's the real figure. That's the figure on the globe, which is correct, because you know how we know that? Because when the sun is 0.5 degrees above the horizon in Perth, it's high noon in Cape Town.
Okay, so are you want the
5,000
answer?
miles away.
I got a question for you. Do you want
If
the
you're on
answer,
flat
or
Earth,
do you
would
think
you
you already know for a
1,000
fact
miles away.
that?
Yep, go ahead.
Do you want the answer, or do you already think you know for a fact that there is no answer, and you're not going to listen to the answer?
Good. Puts it. Just tell me what's on your mind.
Okay, so we see the sun in an apparent position, right? Because if the Earth were a plane, that's not the only problem. It's where we actually see the sun set wouldn't work on a plane Earth with the sun moving in a circle over top of it. We see the sun in an apparent location, or it can't be on a plane Earth. Okay. Well, the evidence suggests that we absolutely do see it in an apparent position. We have crepuscular and anti-crepuscular rays and many other things. So you can demonstrate this. If you take a dome and you take a local light source and you move it in a circle over top of that dome, what you're going to see is a second light source that's just apparent reflection within the dome, right? And you're going to see divergent rays from that light source. When you're inside the dome, it's going to look like the light is arcing over top of you. It's going to look like it's arcing, but what you're doing is making it go in a circle. So you can actually replicate an arc over a plane, even with the sun moving in a circle. And that's also going to explain the apparent location discrepancy that you're bringing up. So now if you guys would like to actually address the real version of plain Earth, which is that the sun is in an apparent position, you guys should stop bringing up that argument, because what you normally say then is that the angular size should change. But actually, it's the globe model that claims that the angular size of the sun should change every day. And globers don't seem to know that.
Well, you're unsure how big the Earth is. Then, in your theory, you think the Earth is like bigger than we say it is, or something.
Before we go down this rabbit hole, let me do a little housekeeping.
All right,
We're
fine.
going to read a few of the super chats that have been coming in. We want to thank everyone at the audience for supporting the show, and we love having you.
I would like
here.
to finish too, okay?
Yes. Just doing some light housekeeping in the middle. Robin Webster, $2 says, great job, Ocean. Caleb answered nothing. Kango 44, 5 New Zealand, I think it's dollars. I don't know the currency. I'm sorry. Caleb running off to get his books was cute. Maybe he should try reading them. That's a bit mean, but we'll take the message. Let me make sure this one isn't ad hominem. Well, Kango for another $5 New Zealand says, with it, you have never debunked anything. You can't debunk reality. Would you like to reply, Austin?
Yeah, just baselessly asserting that your belief system is reality doesn't make it true. That's called affirming the consequent. I would encourage globers to read fallacies and learn them. I don't know what's funny about that. Like if you use fallacies, your argument is invalid.
That's fallacy, actually.
Okay, can you
invalid but not necessarily false? There can be an argument what's conclusion is true, but the argument commits a fallacy. So fallacies don't actually bear on the truth of a claim or an argument, rather. So when you actually read up on fallacies,
that good thing. That's not what I said. Now watch. You have to interrupt this. Watch. You have to interrupt this. See, you're already doing it. Watch. Okay, so I said it makes your argument invalid. I did not say it means your conclusion's wrong. So yes, the fallacy is you can use a fallacy and your argument be invalid, but you could still be correct with your conclusion. You can say heat causes water to boil, and I say, what? Prove it. And then you say everyone knows heat causes water to boil. That would be an appeal to consensus or majority. It would be a fallacious argument. Well, you're still right about your conclusion. So I did not say that because you're using a fallacy, your conclusion's wrong. What I said specifically was it means your argument is invalid.
You're right. I never claimed that you claimed
let me rate this.
You were teaching me something, dude.
Just a moment.
I can't memorize all the fallacies, man. Are you kidding me?
Guys,
you should at least familiarize yourself with the basic ones.
Let's try.
All right, buddy.
Hold on, one second. Let's try to keep the responses for the super chats a little bit shorter so we can get through them and continue on with the discussion. We were getting through some very interesting things right there regarding the. Oh my God, I'm blanking.
The sun.
The debate.
Where does the word fallacy come from, Austin?
Hold on.
Do you know where the word fallacy comes from?
Next message. It's a tiny bit at homey, but I know that Austin, you have thick skin, you can handle it. What motivates you to lie to yourself and others? By Eli.
Wow, that's mean.
It's a bit mean, but
what was it? What motivates me to lie to myself and others? Is that the question?
Yes.
Yeah, I obviously don't think that I'm lying to anyone, right? I actually think I'm doing the opposite, which is accurately representing what people claim the Earth is. Like the globe has specific claims. All the people on the internet that try to disprove flat Earth, they misrepresent it. So I'm just accurately representing it and saying, make up your own decision. Right? Make up your own mind, just like with cosmology. People are going to lie to you about how we proved all this stuff about the universe. It isn't true. So I'm not lying to anyone. I lay out both sides. I still man the globe better than 99% of the globe earthers do. Right? So I don't see how I'm lying. And I've taken all kinds of like negative consequences in my life to do it. So no, I don't think I'm lying to myself. Now, obviously, I wouldn't think that if I was, I guess. I don't know. And I don't think I'm lying to anyone else. I think that many of you guys are lying to people. I think that children are being lied to. So I do it for the exact opposite reason of your accusations.
Wait, you think it's intentional that we just don't believe it's true?
No. I think that most globers definitely believe the globe is true. So they think that they're justified in using dishonest tactics to defend the globe because their conclusion's right. So they think that since the Earth really is a globe, even if I have to twist what Witsit says or gaslight him or misrepresent it or whatever, it's okay. It's justified, right? That it justifies the ends meet the whatever it's called, right? The actions justify the end or whatever it is. So that's how I think you guys look at it. But that's why I'm trying to give you guys good advice and say, if you really think the Earth's a globe, right? Like, you guys should clean up how you go about it, because I know from in like experience, you're making a lot of flat earthers because of how you approach the conversation. Like, I'm just being real with you. So.
Well, I'll happily return the favor and advise you that you're making a lot of globers when you say things like everyone back then knew the Earth was flat. That's a pretty obvious ad populum fallacy, and probably.
I didn't say the Earth is flat because everyone thought it was. I said, when you guys claim that the Earth was proven to be a globe thousands of years ago, that's incorrect. And in reality, the person asked me the question, why do you think they would lie for 2,000 years? And then I responded to that question and said, I don't think that anyone did that. Only a few people even thought that back then. The vast majority of people didn't think that. And then you twisted what I said as if I was making an argument from populace saying, oh, everyone thought it, therefore it's true. Now the audience is going to hear it and be like, why did Ember have to take Witzit's point that was in response to another question, take it out of context, twist it, claim he's using a fallacy when he wasn't, and I can rewind it and look at it, and then that person's like, dang, maybe the Globers have to lie to represent the globe, and then you make more flat earthers. You just lifetime made my point.
Can I ask a quick question? What's it?
Yeah.
And then me.
Would you agree
And then me.
that? Would you agree that all humans or a majority of humans believing the Earth is flat or any shape but flat does not necessitate that being true?
Of course not.
Okay.
Yeah, like a lot of people apparently thought slavery was cool, right? Like people thought slavery was moral. I would say slavery is objectively immoral. So it doesn't matter what people think. That's what
I agree with you that it's
around on
immoral,
that.
but I can't say it's objectively immoral. I don't know what that means.
Yeah, but we disagree
that's
on
a
that,
different
right?
topic.
We
All right,
we
right. Yes, let's not go down
And
that,
can we deal
that
with- can we deal
particular
with something,
rabbit
please?
hole.
The moral rabbit hole.
I'm sorry?
Can we deal with this? The sun still. We haven't finished with that yet.
Yeah, it's an apparent position. What's your
Yes,
response?
hold on. We're,
Yeah,
we're
the apparent
taking a
position bit. I wanted to
moment
deal with that.
Yes, hold
Okay,
on.
so-
We're taking a
so-
moment to read the super
so
chat.
somebody's
Hold
standing.
on. We're gonna hold on. We're gonna do a super chat first.
We're taking a moment to read the super chats and then we'll go right back to you. I'm going to read just two more. This one is from Skeptics and Scoundrels, $5. Witzit. I'm sorry, all a bunch of these are are directed to you, but you know, as a representative of the flat Earth, it's good to have you here to answer these questions for us. So we really appreciate you being here. So, Witzit, would you consider the flat Earth model scientific? If yes, can you give us at least one falsification criterion for the model?
Falsification for flat Earth?
Yes.
Yeah, like consistent, verifiable, physical measurements of Earth curvature. Physical measurements of Earth curvature
All right.
would
Done.
be evidence that the Earth is not flat. That's right.
But that's not how the scientific method works. Your hypothesis.
Well,
that
this
the
isn't
Earth
a
is
science
flat-
question. If the Earth is flat, is a math question. It's not a science question.
No. It'd be based upon observations and measurements. He asked you if it was scientific. It's the preceding question. Then he asked you what would refute it. So usually your hypotheses would be.
Oh wait.
My hypothesis would be that the Earth is flat, and so I would measure that. So any shape that doesn't confirm flatness would be a refutation within the null hypothesis for the flat Earth.
Let me read the question. Would you consider the flat Earth model scientific? I didn't hear that part. If yes, can you give us at least one falsification criterion for the model? One thing I would say is if the Earth is flat or not is a geometry question that isn't science, right? That's a geometry question. So like you don't do physical science experiments to see if the Earth's a ball or not. You do physical measurements. Would I say that a lot of the stuff incorporated into like quote unquote flat Earth models, are they scientific? Yes, absolutely. Like my position about how everything's intrinsically electric and stuff like that, it's absolutely scientific. You can replicate it with models. You can show these things I'm saying by modeling them. A lot of them aren't scientific experiments, and then we get into that whole side debate. But yeah, anyway, there's my answer. Like yes, you can literally measure the vortex within a magnetic field. You can use a Ferrell image to show it. You can also apply the block domain wall to where we live, and you can show that it matches different measurements or whatever. So I would say that, again, this is a math or geometry question. It isn't strictly and specifically science. There's just a lot of questions about physics and science that end up falling into the conversation because it's about the whole realm.
All right. The next question.
That sure was a lot of words.
The next question is by
All
Cody
in literal perfect sense. So, okay.
Give me a second.
That's
the
debatable.
Next question
Although
is by Caught in the Middle, who asked us, how do I come in for a moment? And he's already here on stage. Welcome to the show. I believe it's your first time here. You're more than welcome to unmute yourself and let us know what was on your mind when you sent us that $4.99 message.
I muted you because there was tons of background noise, but you can.
Oh, okay. Yourself. Are you there?
Is this for Champ? Caught in the middle?
Yes.
Hey, listen. So Witzit's on to something here. Okay, so we're at a time and age right now where everything is in question. I mean, we went through 3 years of a vaccine being.
No vaccine or COVID talk, nothing like that.
Okay, well, there were a lot of things in question there. We went through a lot of questions about a lot of different things, right? So, I mean,
Well,
this
conservatives
can't be.
did. Everybody else stayed firmly in reality.
I mean, this can't be just thrown away. I mean, we understand that these things came through the mainstream media. They were even produced after, like, everything was recorded that they were wrong. They were still put out as truth by the mainstream media. And if this is the case, then we're talking about, mainstream scientists, mainstream narrative, mainstream everything. So there's a reason as to why everything should be in question. I mean, Wixit's onto something here. If we're in a time right now where Americans in the world are questioning things more than ever, then why wouldn't it be that people that are putting out things that people don't understand, at the very least, people don't understand, aren't creating more flat earthers? I mean, if you're not putting out evidence as to which, like I say, people can understand, people can make logical. I mean, a lot of this stuff doesn't seem logical. I'm not a flat earther. I'm very much a glober. I've very much contested a lot of different things that Wixit says and does. However, he is onto something in saying that globers are creating flat earthers with a lot of the way that they produce information, a lot of the ways that they announce things, a lot of the ways that they
But this is a
argue
discussion
things.
This is a discussion about the debate we had, not about like other conspiracies and stuff. I do understand.
I'm not talking about. I'm on topic here.
Okay,
in stating that
I engage in these debates and these discussions. I study the information. To claim that I don't care about justifications for what is true would be a ad hom, because I do care.
Yeah, I'm not saying that you don't care about what's true. That would never be.
Sort of.
How did I do that? Go ahead. Tell me how I did that.
Through implication to say that we're onto something, that there's some grand conspiracy the government.
No. I never mentioned that at all.
He's just saying that I may be onto something with how a lot of people on your side present the argument may actually be making more quote unquote flat earthers, because right now the cultural climate is that everyone is highly skeptical about everything, and arguably rightfully so, because we've been misled about lots of things. So, and that's my point too. It's pretty obvious. Whenever you have to shut down the convo, or like, for example, say that everything we were told over the last 3 years was true. The fact they kicked it off of everything made tons of people believe it wasn't true. The fact that they were hiding it. So it's your reaction to information can do the very opposite of what you're aiming to do.
So
that's the point.
And it's not that they just kick people off of things either. It's that they kicked people off of things, and then a year later they brought them back and apologized for the things they kicked them off for, and said, "Oh, the things you said were actually true." After we kicked you off for it.
They never said it was true, but that's a different point. So just because you're appealing to past conspiracy theories doesn't mean those conspiracy theories are actually true. I'm not for censoring of voices that don't agree. I advocate against that. I'm sort of a free speech absolutist in a way, as long as that speech isn't intentionally designed to harm other people. And the Supreme Court has ruled in the United States what those boundaries are, and I pretty much support the boundaries as outlined by the United States Supreme Court when it comes to free speech.
And Ozian, I'm not attacking your character, man. I'm not saying that you're out here lying to people, that you're saying that things that you believe are false. I'm not attacking your character at all.
But that's okay. But you do interrupt me in my middle of the train of thought, which is fine. But just to say that I advocate for it, but YouTube and platforms like that are not public platforms. They are private platforms, and I disagree with that. I think it should be treated as a common carrier, and U.S. laws should apply. Not laws, but our
nationalize YouTube. Hashtag socialism.
Well, not.
How do you guys not? Can you guys not acknowledge the basic logic here, which is, even though your point may be right, if you don't represent it with some class, or you do it dishonestly, you may actually create people on the other side, even though that's not logical and they should look at the evidence, they may act emotional and respond to your behavior, and then it's going to push them in the other direction. It's a very simple, logical premise. It's just a fact based on human behavior.
But now you're
say your girlfriend's not cheating on you. Say your girlfriend's not cheating on you. Say your girlfriend's loyal to you. Let me give this analogy. Sorry. Okay.
A bad example of a bad flat earth debater will turn people off the flat earth. It happens for everything.
Correct.
A bad representation of any idea will tend to put people off of that idea, but that's not something novel.
Well, the normal in the globe community is actually to repeat scripts that have been disproven, though. So, like, that's why I'm trying to help you guys out, because I want to see the whole conversation elevate, because it's becoming very redundant to the point where I'm about to refuse to debate anyone that doesn't have credentials in a specific field, and we're debating that specific subject. So, like, I'm actually in good faith here explaining what I think. And you guys obviously don't have to take my word for it, but I'm just telling you, I get hundreds and hundreds of emails that say this. They're like, how come every time you debate, the person interrupts you and calls you names and changes the subject and diverts? And then when you call out fallacies, they act like you made the fallacies up. And then they claim you used word salad. But when every single thing you said was literally coherent and even accurate with the terminology you use, they all just claim it's word salad, which means that it makes literally no sense. You create flat earthers, or at least people that are interested in looking into it when you do that. If you actually think it's dangerous, you should maybe be like, oh, well, we should kind of fix that up a little bit if we don't want people to believe it. Now, I think you all know flat earth's not dangerous. I think you all know that we do have good points. I think you all know that there is very interesting discussion that happens in this subject, and that you actually, in a way, are like, you admire certain flat earthers for being so diligent and looking into so many things, but you'll never just admit that. Like, that's my theory, but whatever.
Well, I'll concede that most flat earthers are generally harmless. However, by spreading conspiracy theories, it makes people who buy into them more vulnerable to other conspiracy theories.
So I have a question, if you don't mind.
I want to further Witz's point.
No, let's let Issa talk. He hasn't spoken, so go ahead.
So
Issa.
my question, I actually am interested in the element that Caught in the Middle brought up, and I want to ask Whitson about this too. So do you feel, and I think this is an important thing, because when people think of flat Earth, they think of it being a part of this continuum of conspiracy theory, like something from Alex Jones or Zeitgeist, loose change, all of this stuff is interconnected. Do you feel that, let's not even call it, you don't necessarily say flat Earth, but let's say globe Earth skepticism. Do you think it's necessary to engage this kind of things that Caught in the Middle we're talking about, like things like vaccines and all these other things that are like moon landing hoax? Do you think that they need to be a globe Earth skeptic? Do these things all have to be together?
No, but I just think what happens is, if you start to even see it's possible that this many people were misled, which I'll be honest with you, even if the Earth's a spinning, tilted, wobbling globe flying through space, many people were misled because they think mass attracts mass. They don't even understand what happened with Edwin Hubble. They don't know anything. They were misled. They were told that it's more bulletproof than it is. And when people start to see that many people can be misled, they step back and they're willing to look at everything else, right? So that's why it happens. It's not really like you have to or anything. It's just when people kind of get hit in the face with, like, say, geocentrism, they step back and be like, dang, what else have I maybe overlooked? And I don't think that's bad, bro. I think that skepticism is good. I think that free speech is good. So you should have people that are skeptical, and they should talk freely in front of people. And then that's what allows us to make our own decision. That's what society needs. So I don't think it's necessary to believe. I know people that are still kind of closed-minded about a lot of stuff, right? But they are a globe skeptic at the moment. But usually I will admit that when people say, okay, the globe is wrong, they start falling down the other rabbit holes. That is true. But the reason is because they're like, damn, bro, if something that big may have been, I may have been tricked about that. Maybe I'm also tricked about the fact that if I drink Coca-Cola, it has tons of poison in it, right? Like that's way smaller than the globe. I think you get my point.
Okay, with that, we're going to take it back, and I do appreciate your patience, Dr. Phil, Professor Phil, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
We're going to take it back to what you were discussing. I'm going to take a quick trip to the restroom and be right back, so please be civil.
Okay, so I wanted to get back to this apparent sun business, okay? So now, so the people who are in Cape Town, looking straight above their heads to slightly towards the north, are they actually seeing an apparent sun?
Yeah, everyone sees an apparent sun. Yeah.
Okay, so where is the actual sun?
That's a great question, Phil. I wouldn't know from the Earth if we only see an apparent sun, huh?
Well, we see apparent suns. We see things apparently because in slightly different places because of refraction. So the sun wouldn't be very, very far away from where we see it apparently, would it?
I have no idea. Right? It would depend on many things.
It would be within a couple of degrees of where you actually see it. Because the refraction looking straight up is not that much.
Not necessarily, actually. Like when you do the demonstration with a dome, the sun is significantly displaced, much more than 2 degrees. So it's certainly possible that happens. It depends on the actual shape and solidity of whatever's causing the apparent displacement. Depends on like the medium itself, etc. The angle at which the light enters, all these different angle of incidence and stuff like that. So I don't know. I don't make that claim. All I say is that, well, I can replicate that a sun going in a circle over a flat Earth will look like it's going in an arc to someone inside the dome. And that's just a fact.
Now, the person who's I actually ended up doing the real calculation, because before that I was just making a I made an assumption based on the Earth being 3,000. The actual number, if you were in Perth and the sun was 0.5 degrees above the horizon, is 453,541.8 miles.
What exactly is that for?
That's nearly 500,000 miles away if the sun is 3,958 miles high.
Oh, you're saying if you use trigonometry, assuming that local distance.
I don't care how you talk about how apparent it is. That is outrageously too far.
Yeah. So just to clarify for the audience, what you're saying is if you try to determine, just so the audience knows what you're saying if you try to determine the distance between 2 locations on the Earth, assuming a sun that's only 3,000 miles, you're going to get way too big of numbers and they're not going to be accurate distances, correct?
Now, what I'm saying with it is that if the sun is apparently on flat Earth going away from you, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Now, okay, so if you're standing on the beach at Fremantle, which is just out of Perth, if you're standing on the beach looking west at the sun at that point of time is high noon over Cape Town, when it's 0.5 degrees above the horizon from Fremantle. So at that point, it is now 453,541 miles away if the Earth was flat.
The sun is?
Now, if the Earth is a globe, it's 8,000 kilometers away, or 5,000 miles. Guess what? That's the accurate distance between Perth and Cape Town.
So it is what I said, which is if you assume a local light source on a flat Earth, that the distances between 2 locations will be different. Okay, I agree with you. That's not the only problem. You also would be seeing the sun set in the wrong direction, right? So
no.
Yes.
Why would the sun be in the wrong direction? It's perfect. It aligns perfectly. The sun
on a globe. It aligns. Phil, you need to listen, bro. I'm talking about on a flat Earth, the sun would be setting in the wrong direction. Okay, on a globe, yes, it matches. But that's literally how we made the globe model, bro. We literally made the globe by looking at stuff like the sun and then what it does in the.
Of course we did. We did do that. That's the people who had no way to get into space. Of course they did that. That makes perfect sense, Wits. It's about the most sensible thing you've said.
Sure, right? Yes, but I always say sensible things, Phil. You just don't listen.
Around us to decide that the Earth is a sphere. There's absolutely no problem with that.
The only problem is, right, you're assuming that we see in Euclidean geometry in perfectly straight lines that we can effectively see infinitely, and that the only cause of where the sun moves in the sky must be the Earth's physical shape, and you have to assume that it's a sphere. If you actually see in curved visual space, and then you took that curvature and you reverse engineered a value for the Earth curving, it would match but still be wrong, okay? And that's what happened. And the way we know that's what happened is the preponderance of all the other physical evidence that shows that the Earth quite literally can't be a sphere.
Oh no, I'm afraid you got that exactly upside down. You see, because it's the other, all the other evidence that shows that it has to be a sphere. Let me give you another one. We
debunked that one, right, Phil? Before we move on, we debunked that one, right?
No, you didn't.
Hold on, because
I thoroughly whipped your ass. Okay?
Phil, hold on. This is not really a debate. We're here to talk about the after show of the debate, and I'm feeling you two have some kind of prior history. So
yeah, Phil, do you want to just agree on maybe we can debate in the future somewhere with the moderator or something?
Yes, I mean, we can help you set that up either here or on MD.
I want to debate you about satellites, Phil. The only way I'm going to debate you is if it's about satellites.
No, we'll talk about the sun. I love this talking about the sun.
You work on satellites, right? I'll debate you specifically about what you're an expert in, satellites, and then we'll have a good debate. We'll have a moderator. It'll be cool.
All right, going back to
just think about it.
Debate at hand, the after show. I have this question, and I'm sorry, no, this not that one. Sorry, misclicked. What do you think was the best argument for the flat Earth? Because there wasn't much in terms of evidence for the flat Earth, but I do think that I don't appreciate the tactic, but his debate tactic is really good in terms of armor. He's armored in. He kind of built an argument so that he doesn't have to answer questions, and I don't like it, but I can appreciate the strategy itself. So we're going to go around the panel. First, Ozian, how do you feel about the question?
So his argument was plain. What's the word? When they measure the Earth, anyways, it doesn't matter.
Geodesic surveying.
Planar surveying. So planar surveying, he's right. They do sort of just say it's a flat, and then the appealing to like water being flat. Like I disagree, of course, with all this stuff. And
you mean water being level? They say that water is level.
Yeah.
But level doesn't mean flat, so
I agree.
What about
it has to be flat if the Earth is flat and it's level, that it would have to be flat. But yes, you're right, Leo. I think those were his, and then his debate tactic, he tried to say he didn't have to have a burden of proof for his claim.
Yeah, I mean, I don't appreciate it, but I kind of said, that's an interesting strategy. It leaves you off the hook with a bunch of stuff when it comes to a debate. Let's go around the panel. Ember, what do you think about the question?
I kind of liked his coordinate transforms argument. You know, it was weird that he said that railroads don't matter, but then immediately went to the coordinate transform thing. But yeah, you can do that. You can measure stuff line of sight and then do a coordinate transform, assuming a globe, and get measurements that work. So yeah, that argument checked out.
With it?
Yeah. I'm glad that was just said. That's cool. So I actually I'm gonna second what Ozian's saying. I don't know if he said it before my super chat or whatever, but for all engineering, we have to use plane survey, which assumes that the Earth is flat and neglects any notion of curvature for up to 10 square miles. The importance of that is you would say, well, the Earth's so big you can't really tell or whatever, but that's not true. Whenever you're building like a bridge or something and people claim you have to account for a few millimeters, all of a sudden 66 feet doesn't matter. So say with like a 100-mile bridge, you would have 10 segments of 10 miles that all used plane survey, assuming the Earth was flat. As you connect those line segments, it absolutely would matter. And in engineering, we just used the assumption that the Earth is flat. I have government documents straight up saying, for all engineering, you have to assume the Earth is flat. So yeah, I would say that that's the strongest one he brought up, specifically about flat. And I will also say the reason that flat earthers take that approach is because the globe Earth is the positive plane we were told. And technically, if the surface of the Earth isn't curving, then what is it, right? So by default, the Earth would be a topographical plane, if not a ball. So by falsifying the globe, then you actually substantiate flat Earth. But anyway, yeah, that is positive evidence for the Earth being flat, is engineering using a flat Earth, assuming a flat Earth for 100 square miles. So I would think that's probably one of the better ones.
All right, Leo, what do you think?
There are arguments for flat Earth. None of them are good. And if none of them are good, then none of them can be the superlative form of good.
Philosophy, I love it.
Question.
I agree.
What about
with
on
Leo.
style points alone? Like
It was elegantly
What
phrased,
about
though. I'll
what?
give you that.
what
was
about
he-
on style points? Like what's the style points of his argument?
I don't know what you mean by style points.
Like, was it cool? Were there any cool arguments he made? Not
No.
good, but cool. Okay,
No.
that's fine.
All right, Issa. Can you hear me, Issa?
Oh, me?
Yes.
Okay, what do I think the best argument for flat Earth is?
No, today.
First,
On which
today,
one
no,
today?
no,
On the
no.
debate. Yes.
Okay. Okay, I think the argument that was sorry about that. Some of my messages are connected. I think the best kind of argument that I saw. Well, I don't know if I would say it's an argument, but I think what I was impressed by is the kind of confidence. Caleb has like strong confidence when he comes in. I am not a master of this particular material. I think it would be better. I always think with in this kind of conversation, which gets into heavy duty, like mathematical stuff, I think it's really helpful to try to make it as layman as possible for everyone to understand this stuff. Because, if you do research and you don't know all this stuff, it's going to be difficult. But I think he had so on his debate presentation, as opposed to exactly the argument, he had a lot of confidence. He was very kind of strong in his kind of appearance in what he was arguing. I guess an issue that I thought was interesting. I wish I had all my notes from this, but I was taking notes during the time of it. But it was interesting about kind of looking. He admit, okay, this is the thing that I thought was interesting. It was about the parallax element. He brought up the element about parallax, and I'm not an expert on parallax, but it did seem like when he was pushing on Ozian about this idea of the star element, that kind of sounded like something that was solid. But I mean, I would love to. I think it would be really helpful to have all the information like laid out. But that was the thing that I felt sort of swayed by when I heard that particular point.
Hold on. Whose phone is making that much
It might be my
noise?
computer. That's what I was saying. I think that my
Oh,
message connects
okay.
to my computer. So anytime someone sends me a text message, it goes ding. So
Yes, it's really loud.
I am so sorry about that. It's hard to.
Oh my lord.
I think we need to move on at this point.
Okay, moving on.
Real fast, is it an
Tyler.
actual rule that I can't text in the chat if I'm on the panel?
No,
Like,
I
if I have to
let-
sit here for 30 minutes. I should be able to text in the chat. That's what a ridiculous
not
rule.
you.
They're,
It's
they're
not
all
you that's
talking
causing
about me.
I let Earl know that
This is
Earl let him.
the beeping
like,
wasn't coming from you, Witsit.
Yeah,
No, I know that.
No,
I'm
no,
making
this
a
is
point,
a
though. I
different
keep
thing.
getting timed out in the chat. They're saying I can't text.
Okay,
Yeah,
let
I'm
me-
just saying, like,
that's
bro,
really
if
fucked
I
up.
wasn't being added 50 times, it'd be
Hear me?
different, you know?
You hear me? Yeah, so Witsit is being tagged by other people in the live chat, and people typically participate in both when they come on these panels. And I'm okay with Witsit and the panelists participating in the live chat. I have no problem with that. Now, if they're violating other rules like insulting people, and Witsit's not doing that.
So we're going to go back to Tyler, who had his hand raised. So you may answer the question on screen right now and let us know whatever was on your mind. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me. It's good to see you all, friends. It's great to have you too. I'm glad that it's not an echo chamber. I may disagree with you, but I'll fight to my death for your right to say the things that you say. I think you do a service to the world, just getting people to question their reality and reformulate their worldviews, whichever side of the fence they fall on. So I thank you thoroughly for that. The best argument that I heard was the one about how if you walk around the equator with a compass, it's always going to be pointing to the north, and you're just going to be going around kind of like walking around the edge of a plate. It's always going to be pointing to the center. And that kind of got me thinking about how, like, if you walk around with a plumb bob, is the plumb bob always pointed to the center of the earth, or is it just pointing down, kind of a thing? So it kind of did get the wheels turning. And then the thing that I raised my hand about earlier was when the discussion was about the sun and the refraction through kind of like a dome kind of a thing. And I was just wondering how that model accounts for things such as like the eclipse and things like that, as well as tides, because as I understand it, every time the flat earth side mentioned that like water is always flat and it kind of just flattens out like that, I kind of thought about like, well, what about the tides? I thought the tides were affected by the moon and the movement and things like that. So
They are.
I just wonder, yeah, and that's the thing is I'm wondering, what does the flat earth model say about the tides and eclipses?
Magic.
Yo, see, this is one of those things. You know what I'm going to do for our next Skull and Globers is I'm going to put a list of all the supposed globe arguments or all the supposed questions for flat earth that don't work. And we're going to just go through all of them, right? And then most people won't watch it, but I don't care. The tide model doesn't work on the globe. I can send you a paper from, I believe it's an author from Princeton, a professor. It's titled 100 Years or a Century of Failed Tidal Theory. And it explains how we haven't been able to accurately explain the tides on the Earth from a globe model for over a century. And really first Newton proposed the idea loosely, right? There are something called tidal nodes, or I forgot, anamorphic points. I forgot how to say it. And we don't know what causes those from the globe paradigm. Also, that the relationship between the moon and the tides change. And so actually the tides are behind the moon. Now they do seem to have some relationship as if it's all in a cycle, but it's behind the moon and it changes. So it's not always the same distance from the moon, right? And so this idea that the globe has a working model for the tides isn't true. And like, yeah, basically on a plain Earth, the oceans would be breathing in and out. So it would actually, be within the torus field. Yeah, they basically go in and out. And that would happen inside of a torus field. Like the same thing happens when we simulated the sun, the apparent sun position data. It went in and out inside of a torus field. The same thing happens with the interferometry measurements. Same thing would happen with the pendulum, et cetera. So that's a really deep conversation, but I'm just saying tides are a very nuanced, complicated phenomena. Just saying that tidal locking is what we're told when we're like in 10th grade. Yeah, you can repeat tidal locking, but it's much more complex than that.
Well, tidal locking is different than the tides on Earth. The tidal locking just means that only one side of the Earth,
I know that.
as a result of the rotation of the moon about its axis and its orbit around the Earth being effectively the same or equalizing.
Yeah, that's correct. Yes, tidal locking is about the moon always being
gravity that has to do with tides. It doesn't matter that only one side is facing us.
No, you're right. But the fact that it is tidally locked is directly relevant to the tides, since the moon supposedly calls the tides, right? So the gravitational relationship is relevant. Yes, tidal locking is about how we just see one side of it. And actually, if the moon was spinning 1/4 a mile per hour, faster or slower, we'd see the rest of it. That's what your model says. But I'm just saying that it's tidally locked and just saying that the moon causes the tides, that may satisfy some people that haven't researched it. But in reality, it's way more complex than that. And tidal nodes are not explained within your paradigm. And there's many other anomalies and discrepancies. So
it's just coincidental that the tides happen to coincide with the moon?
No, I don't think it's a coincidence. No. I just don't believe your theory. Your theory doesn't work. So why could they not correlate to the moon on a flat Earth? They could, of course, right? So,
I mean, if the moon had gravity and gravity existed, sure.
Or if it was electromagnetic. Yeah.
I don't know how
Okay.
that
All
would
right,
do it.
and finally,
Thank
we're
you
going
for
to ask the
answering my
question on screen to Cut in the Middle. Do you have anything you would like to add?
Yeah, so I'm obviously a Glober. I disagree with Witsit on all sorts of things. I agree with him in that people should question things. I think that Ozian came with a better argument. I think that Caleb was very. He just had a very bad way of representing himself, and
I mean, sorry
the
to cut you
flatter.
off, but the question right now is the one on screen. What's the best argument
Oh.
for the flat Earth on this debate?
I don't know what a good argument for the flat Earth is, honestly.
And did you appreciate anything of what Caleb had to say? Something in particular? Was there any moment where he made you go think? I mean, that's.
I like the Caleb
to...
questions. I like the Caleb questions. Questions what's going on in reality, and that's about the end of that as far as the shape of the Earth is concerned. And Caleb's argument, he unfortunately he was very negative in his representation, so I can't get on board with anything he was doing.
All right, thank you very much. And we're coming up on 2 hours. I do have one final question for everyone before we get ready to roll off for tonight. I want to thank everyone for being here. It was very nice hosting my first show, but we'll do the wrap up later. The final question is the following. Hold on. Just 1 second, because I'm just typing it up because I'm dumb. In accepting.
Yeah, I think it's so funny that the I killed Earl got so triggered that they had to block me from the chat. I just gotta say, it's kind of funny. I'll answer the question. Someone was like, if someone gave you a free ride to university or full scholarship, would you go to university? Like I had a full scholarship to go to university. You know, some of the smartest people in the world, not claiming that that's me, didn't finish university. Okay, so it doesn't matter, bro. It doesn't matter.
All right. This came up during the debate, and I thought it was very interesting. In his strategy, one of the things Caleb did was question a lot, and he did question specifically this. Are we? I mean, the question is more of in a general term. Are we justified in accepting certain axioms, such as this one, which are completely proven time after time? The Pythagorean theorem comes to mind, and these sort of axioms which everyone accepts, everyone uses, and they are part of our daily lives in a bigger or smaller measure. They are. So let's go around the panel. Ozian, I kick it up to you. What do you think?
It describes a circle, so we could have not described a circle, but so it's just an axiom that we use. Actually, it's radians would actually be more parsimonious, but the convention in a lot of the world is degrees. So I have no problem with it as an axiom to describe a circle.
Ember?
It's kind of a tautology because we define 360 degrees. We created that system and said that's what makes a circle. So when we measure a circle and find 360 degrees, it doesn't really prove anything, you know? Like we made up that measurement. We could have gone with 100 degrees or 400 degrees. Whatever we decided to make it. Surprise, that's what it is.
With it?
The answer is, of course, no. Right, because if you just assume what you're trying to prove, then that is affirming the consequence. Someone texted that it wasn't. It is by definition. So, would it be useful if the Earth was a sphere? Sure, or whatever. But if you just assume that the Earth is a sphere, i.e., the axiom of 360 degrees, then you assume spherical geometry. That isn't proving anything because it is just begging the question. And really, it's not begging the question, which is informal. It's officially affirming the consequence as soon as you formulate it as an actual argument, like Eratosthenes, for example. So no, I don't think that that's justified. I think that that's not intelligent. I mean, sure, you can do it, but don't invoke it as evidence. It's fundamentally fallacious. I can assume anything. I can say that there are little gnomes that are best friends with unicorns, and they all inhale at the same time at the center of the globe, and that's actually the cause of gravity. And then say, my prediction is that things are going to fall down at 9.8 meters per second squared because of that. And the sun actually has giant gnomes, and so they're gonna make the planets move around. And look, I take Kepler's laws and the kinematics, and I take the fact that things fall on the Earth, and I say this proves that giant gnomes are breathing in. That's stupid. So you can't do that, right? Or you would never be able to find truth. You have to have more logical parameters to find truth. So.
Well, I wasn't saying it was an acceptable axiom to prove the shape of the globe, but just that it's an axiom for a circle.
Yes, that was kind of more the point of the question.
It was in the context of the globe in the debate, though, right? Like specifically, he pointed out that he had assumed 360 at the beginning to then allegedly show evidence for the globe, and so that's just affirming the consequence. So,
but I think Leo's next, and he had that presentation.
Yes, Leo.
So, I mean, of course we are, because like Ember has already pointed out, it's largely tautological. A circle is defined in terms of its number of degrees, but actually, as Ozian has already pointed out, the radian is the SI unit for a circle, and we can define degrees in terms of radians, and radians are given both in terms of the radius and pi, which are, again, clearly tautological features of a circle. And so you can see here, if you know your math, you'll know that 180 degrees is pi radians, and this explains why it's pi radians, because it's the how the angle subtends an arc equal to the radius as it shows here, what you're about to see. It's going to show how if we go up that arc in an amount equal to the radius, that would be a radian. So this is actually how we define circles. It is axiomatic. So people who understand not just their geometry, but like mathematical logic and stuff will understand. This is openly tautological. This is just, it's like saying, are we justified in accepting that a bachelor, or what it means to be unmarried is to be a bachelor, as an axiom? Well, that's what bachelor means, is to be an unmarried man. It's just openly tautological. When you say that a bachelor is an unmarried man, that phrase is identical to an unmarried man is an unmarried man, because the word bachelor means unmarried man. So that, yes, it's tautological. We are as justified in accepting it as we are that a bachelor is an unmarried man.
Not in the context of the Earth, though. So, okay.
I can grant you that, because it's not relevant to anything I said.
Well, that's the context of the debate. So I'm just pointing out that that's what the question came from. Is in the debate that was his response.
Yeah. But in this particular instance, I'm more of what I'm asking right now is if we're justified in being skeptical, even to that point, to basically be doubtful of things that are given.
Like a circle being
like a circle contains 360 degrees.
Oh, of course not. That would be ridiculous, just like Leo said, right? Like that would be.
Yes, okay. That was kind of my. I mean, your answer was applicable in the terms of the debate, but I was in these questions more specifically. I was thinking about.
No worries.
This in particular.
Are we justified in accepting Gödel's incompleteness theorems? Yes. Yes, we are.
Tyler, what do you think about axioms and these things that we're discussing right now?
Yeah,
oh, I'm so sorry. Issa. Yeah, go ahead.
Unless you see it differently on my screen. I'm sorry.
No. Issa is first. Yes.
Thanks, Leo. Yeah, I think when we're dealing with certain laws and premises, we kind of accept the premises that are given. Like we say 2 + 2 is 4. I accept the premise of the tautology. I think if we kind of just grant certain things that we're utilizing when we're doing mechanics and mathematics or the kinematics, we have to grant certain premises in order to be able to do the work. And I would say that I don't think that necessarily has to exclude that people may challenge the results of what that yields. I think that is the big conflict here. I think what I've been hearing from both sides of this conversation is that we have the same kind of data, but the way that the data is viewed yields different kinds of results based on what position people are taking. To be fair to both of the sides, so I think that's because I hear from what I heard, people are agreeing on the mathematics. They're not saying, "Hey, the mathematics are false." In fact, that's brought up. Both sides have brought up mathematical understandings. So, with these types of situations, I think we need to grant these types of things in order to do the work. Because if we don't grant them and just say, "Well, 360 degrees is square," then that creates difficulty because then we don't have a commonality in the language that we're trying to engage, or the narrative we're trying to engage.
All right. Tyler, go ahead, give us your answer.
Thanks again for having me. Witsit, it's great to see this side of you. I've completely changed my opinion of you just due to the difference of your delivery when you're on MDD is a bit intense. But as far as the question is concerned, I mean, 360 degrees as a sphere in a cross section compared to a plate, like why is left and right not called ketchup and mustard? And if left and right was called ketchup and mustard, what would we call ketchup and mustard? I mean, we categorize our reality with these constructs. We just call them kind of words, and then as Issa said, there's this commonality in it. It's how we interpret and healthily engage with the world around us. So, yeah, like it's I don't know.
It's okay. It's a fair enough answer. And finally, for our final question for our final panelist today, I'm sorry, caught in the middle. Tongue twisted for a moment there. Go ahead and give us your answer for today.
Yeah, I'm with the simple people. Look, obviously 360 degrees is the thing. Like you can have a basketball that's obviously a ball. So there's no reason to question that as an axiom.
Fair enough. There was one thing that came up during the debate, and I would like to take advantage of having you here with it to ask you this question. Do you think Caleb in some point tries to imitate you?
I think he openly states that he learned a lot of stuff from watching my channel and integrates some of my arguments. So I don't think there's any shame in that from his side. I think he tries to imitate me? No, I think he has his own style. I mean, I don't think we even debate the same, but yeah, I mean, he openly admits that he listened to a lot of me, and I'm cool with that, right? Because like he's younger, and I mean, I want people to get the information out, that because the truth is a lot of it's suppressed. So yeah, I mean, he I'm cool with Caleb. I think that he's young and he's already grown a lot in debate, and he'll keep getting better. So I mean, the truth is, being a flat earther is way more difficult in a debate than a globe earther. Like a globe earther just has to say, I don't know, but scientists do, or just literally Google and read the sentence and immediately internalize that belief. They automatically have the majority. They honestly can say, I'm not a scientist, but whatever they say, I trust it. Well, a flat earther is expected to answer every question of the universe, or somehow the earth becomes a globe again, right? Like, and you don't know every single answer of existence. Haha, the earth's a globe, right? Like, so anyway, I mean, I give props to anyone that has the confidence to publicly step into that position and not be scared, or to speak out against it. And we need more people like that, or we would have had a better last 3 years if we had more people like that. So I know there's a long way of answering your question. Your question is, yes, I think that he has integrated some of my arguments. He's seen some of the logical frameworks and integrated in them. They've given him an advantage in debate, and he openly states that, and I'm cool with it. I send him information a lot.
I would prefer to debate you, Witsit, than Caleb. But out of all the people I would debate, Caleb's not the worst. I would have to say John Zerka, that debate with you and John Zerka. My goodness, dude.
Yeah, that was crazy, man. That was crazy.
And then
I didn't even know who that was at the time.
Oh, he's nuts. And then Dustin Nemos is like.
I've never really heard him debate except for Sun Genesis. I can only listen to a few minutes, but
Yeah.
I popped up to that Zerka debate and I didn't even know who my teammate was, much less did I know that this guy that has gone super viral all over the internet for like notoriously being that way, right? I do think he's funny. I think he's playing a character and he's smart enough to know how to go viral. I think that's a lot to do with it. You got to kind of understand he does kind of play a character, but he was being very aggressive with you. I think he comes from like TikTok and Twitch realms, which is a lot different than this like other little, flat earth YouTube realm. It's much different, bro. It's much more cutthroat. It's like TikTok is crazy.
And that's where Caleb comes from. And I watched this debate with Craig, Fight the Flat Earth, for people that don't know. And I saw that debate tactic like he was using. It's like this little smug, condescending. He comes off as a teenager, dude, which is like cringy.
He is young. He is young. Like, that's what I'm saying. He's young. And I will say I've grown a lot with debating, where I'm telling you guys, if you go be a flat earther on a debate with hundreds of people watching you and people just lying about you, talking about your daughter and your wife and all this crazy stuff, it's very easy to get caught up in it. When the person comes and they don't let you finish and they twist what you say and their opening is just poisoning the well and all this appealing to emotion and stuff, it's easy to get kind of worked up and feel like you have to defend yourself. I think I've gotten better with it, but it took me a while. And there are still moments that I get frustrated. So I give him the benefit of the doubt. I know that if I could go on a debate and be a Glober, I'd be the most chill person ever because it's so easy. All you have to say is, I don't know, but the scientists do. So, I mean, you got to give him a little, he's young and he's in a tough position, right? So I don't hold it against him. I think he does have some work to do, but he's young. So
yeah, I agree. And I'm not a humanist per se, but I have a lot of empathy for all humans. Like I try to find, and people like get on me about it all the time. Like I'm not mean enough and stuff like that. But like I took the time to ask Caleb questions in DMs and stuff, even though he wants to like play the debate bro in his Twitter feed because he's sort of a dick there.
But don't you see that it's kind of toxic that they get mad at you for that?
Yeah, like a little bit, but you're a father. I'm a father. He's a father having a kid. Well, I shouldn't speak for him, but like these are human peoples behind these beliefs and these claims. Now there are some problematic claims I believes Caleb has that he's sharing that he's not necessarily justified in doing so. And
he goes reckless on X. I mean, I think you can read into what he's saying, or you can, look into some of it. But
I have.
Yeah, some of it's not entirely inaccurate. I'm not going to get into that, but yeah, he's intentionally extreme. I think he's just going to have to learn. Like I had to learn that. Okay, because you're very tempted to be like, bro, I'm gonna embarrass you because you came in here so smug, and that's why the first thing I said to you guys, I can't believe you're talking about that. Globers are notoriously smug and condescending, like notoriously. Like every debate I've been in, there's only a couple of exceptions. Ozian's one of them, and I don't know why you guys are gonna pretend like you don't know that. Everyone knows it. Like I get messages from Globers all the time. That's like, bro, I don't agree with you on the earth, but the people you debate are ridiculous. You got to get someone that's better. So it's easy to get caught up and then start battling with them in the mud. Yeah. And he just has to learn like it's not gonna result in like longevity.
I have two more responses I didn't show. I want to show here because I did have prepared responses, sort of jokes, sort of disarm, like the way he sort of acted. And some people don't like him. That's fine. I don't think Tyler liked him, but
it confused the hell out of some people. There was one guy literally asking, he's like, "How did he change his shirt?"
Were any more skeptical? They need their own. If your facial expression, oh no, with that level of mocking, my argument is crumbling. Wait, no. It's still there. Just checked. But I did that to specifically like sometimes if you shock people, like, oh, what the heck was that? Like it gets them out of that mode.
Well, I think that's not tasteful, man. I didn't see that, but like McToon has done that to me by just playing a clip of me saying you always have to account for refraction, just playing it through the middle of the stream every time, and I'm like. Yeah. Okay. What's your point?
I didn't do it during the middle of the stream. I did it as part of my response. So I didn't do that.
I got you. Yeah. It's all good, man. I'm just and like I think that people can tell I'm being so good faith when I'm telling you guys that like just you need to improve your tactic, bro. Because I don't know. I'll say this: if there was a group of people that thought that pigs could fly, which is you guys act like flat Earth is that stupid. Many of you guys do. I think you all know deep down that's not true. And that if we really got into debates that you don't want this smoke, like I'm just going to be honest, but you guys act like it's really stupid and like you can just go prove it by dropping your phone or something. If you really thought it was that stupid, then why so passionately discuss it for hours and debate it, right? And so there's something else to that. There's something else to it. It's like you think, like, oh, well, now I know the group will accept me here, or I can beat up on this other person, or there may be something about like sadism in there, right? Like an enjoyment of humiliating others or whatever. I'm not trying to psychologically analyze anyone. Like maybe you guys have pure intention, just like conversations about physics, and I try to give you guys a benefit of the doubt. What I'm saying is hopefully your motivation is something like you think this is dangerous somehow. I don't know how you could justify that because it's ridiculous, or maybe you just don't want to see people misled. Assuming I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt, assume that that's the reason that you guys do it, then you should not do it the way most of you do because it's accomplishing the opposite. And I can literally send you hundreds of emails of people.
I would say we have that. I do debates about conspiracy theories. Just the concept, are you ever justified in believing a conspiracy theory is true? And I do think it can lead to bad things. I do honestly believe. So that it can lead people to believe stuff that is untrue just because of the cynicism, misplaced cynicism, I believe, about people in authority. And
yeah, but no one goes and finds a Discord about pigs flying and obsessively taunts them. No one even does that with people that are confused about many basic biological things now.
Yeah. I want to know why what they believe and why. I really sincerely do, and try to be maybe sort of Socratic about understanding, like poking holes into the beliefs. But the debate wasn't like that tonight because I knew my opponent and he wasn't going to.
You guys both went in there with you guys both went in there without the proper intention, right? I mean, it's not going to result in a positive outcome. So, I mean, like you also, wait, let me ask you this and I'll stop talking so much. Ozzy, don't you also agree though, that just like you said, just believing in conspiracies can lead to a bad place? I don't disagree. I have to check people in this community a lot, you know, where they say things that are just ridiculous and they act like for example, some people claim like every mountain is a melted building. There are people that actually say that. I'm like, okay, that's the dumbest. That's ridiculous. Okay. Oh, here's a pyramid. Well, that's a natural platonic shape that crystals form. Like, what are you talking about? All that to say, don't you think it's also a problem if you're the extreme on the other side and you automatically and blindly believe whatever the current mainstream consensus is because it's consistently been proven wrong? Even if you believe in, like, say, Einstein was laughed out of the room at first, right? And everyone thought he was crazy. So the mainstream consensus is never right. So don't you agree if you just take your brain out of your head and you hand it over to like this conglomerate of propaganda and you don't think for yourself, that that's also very dangerous? Because that's what most people do. And that's ridiculous.
All right, and with that, we're going to bring the show to its final little few minutes. We're going to read a couple of super chats that we have left behind. I want to thank everyone from the panel for kicking with us today. I want to thank Ozian for letting me host today the show. It was a very fun experience. I really had a blast. I want to thank each and every one of you for coming and joining me on stage today. We're going to read the super chats and then quickly go over some final housekeeping things. Eli was saying, Witsit, that's not affirming the consequence. It's affirming the consequence is if P then Q, 2 would be Q and then therefore P. This is
exactly.
in reply to
a formal fallacy.
Yeah, it's a formal fallacy, and that's like literally what it is. If you say, if the Earth's a sphere, then it's 360 degrees, and then the shadows are going to look like this. You see the shadows look like this. Therefore, it is a sphere. That is a textbook example of affirming the concept. If you assume the conclusion at the outset, that's what an affirming the consequent is. So it is literally something. That example is something you could teach in logic classes, bro.
Yeah, but they also teach you that affirming the consequent isn't actually technically always fallacious. That there are instances where that formal structure of argumentation can be used and be valid.
I do actually agree that there are times that it can be productive, right? But it should never be like the staple of a conclusion or anything because they require the conclusions.
All right. Then Zinosh asked us if we could turn Witch's volumes down. That we did do it on the backend side. So thank you for your message, letting us know that the audio was kind of a little iffy. Everything seems to be sounding great right now. I
only turned you down to 80% Witz, so people could still hear you just fine.
It's not bad. I might be too close to the mic. I don't know.
Yeah, it's fine. It sounds perfect right now, so don't worry about it. And Kango44, $10 New Zealand. I have followed the flat earth debate since 2015. Most flat earthers are awful. Most deny the Holocaust, are homophobic, anti-medicine, anti-science, compulsive liars. That's not very fair.
Yeah, but that's called poisoning the well, right? So it's like
it is a little.
Yeah, flat earthers think that giants exist, which, by the way, I do. So therefore, they're wrong about the Earth being flat. They're all these crazy blah blah blah. All these hateful people, whatever. And that's just stupid.
You believe in giants?
I know plenty of Globers that believe all the same nasty conspiracy theories. I would argue, like, if you watch the Greg Locke Dean Oldham debate, it was sort of weird. I'm not saying they're conspiracy theories, but Greg Locke was specifically saying, sort of in his opening, like, listen, Dean, I believe in all the same quote unquote conspiracy theories you do, except that, now I'm paraphrasing here, except that flat earth conspiracy theory is just one step too far. I can't accept that one. It's sort of,
yeah, but that's what I'm saying. It's called an all or nothing fallacy, bro. Like, Globers think that either the globe mainstream model is true and so is everything else the mainstream said, or all the conspiracies are fake. And not all of them, but a lot of them do. Because that's kind of a hasty generalization, right, to ever say that. But I just think that's a stupid way to think, bro. Individually assess everything and look for evidence. Greg Locke also said, I don't believe that the universe is expanding. And I'm like, okay, well, you don't understand that means that the Earth is in the center. Then you should not say that out loud anymore. But anyway, like, yeah, you get my point, bro. The point is simple. And like, also, I'll say this. Yes, there's substantial evidence for giants. And can I prove it? No. And is it just kind of a belief in a sense? Sure. But there are tons of remains found and tons of stories all across the earth that claim that that's the case. And you guys may think it's crazy, but at the least, you'll have to admit that there were like seemingly 8 to 10 feet tall people. There's just an abundance of evidence for that. So yeah, I think so. I think there were giants. I don't know why. I don't know.
I would love to have that debate too, but there are tall people today.
Yeah, me too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but have you guys ever looked like? Do you guys ever use the tool that you can look up?
I'd love to have the Giants debate, man. The Giants debate would be so fun.
Dude, the Giants are totally legit. Like, go look up the old newspaper articles and look up people in the 1900s, even from America.
I'm absolutely Team Giant. I'm hashtag Team Giant, man.
All right. Yeah. I think we're
all right. We're going to go around the panel one final time. Give us try to be brief, please, so we can wrap the show up. Give us a brief message. Tell us if you have something going on the interwebs. And thank you, everyone, for being here. And then we're going to do some final housekeeping, and we'll let everyone go enjoy their Friday night. Ozian.
Well, I'm Ozian. I'm the host here at Matters Now, or one of the hosts here. Is sort of the thing I sort of made with Ryan originally, but he's not here anymore. Anyway, so if you like what you see, become a member. It's only 99 cents. But I was going to say, Craig from Fight the Flat Earth, you might see me on his channel tomorrow doing a debate review. Check that out. And then I'm doing a interview on recovering from religion at some point in the future, and I'll post the details in the community tab on this channel to go check those two things out. Anyways, thanks for hosting, Max.
Oh, you are very welcome. It was so much fun. Take it away, Ember.
All right, I'm Ember. I'm at a better than Ember, as right there. I do a bunch of stuff, counter-apologetics, trans stuff, science as much as I can. Videos every Saturday, debate reviews with Mark Reed on both of our channels. We alternate every other week. Sunday show, news and science and things. And next weekend, not this coming weekend, I'll be on Nara the Atheist channel debating whether Jesus was the Messiah, and I'll be on the pro-Jesus side. That should be interesting.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Very nice.
Wow. You don't believe it? You're arguing for argument's sake?
Yeah, it's a devil's advocate debate. My opponent will be B.S. Lewis, and he's got to argue for the non-messianic Jews.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So you're arguing for Jesus being the devil's advocate. Very interesting. Okay. So yeah, no, I just wanted to jump on and just kind of show that it could be more chill. I think it got a bit intense lately, and I think Ozian's good faith, and you seem cool as well. So I'm not going to promise I'll jump on a lot, but I think Ozzy and I can have a conversation maybe in the future, look at a couple papers. And I just wanted to show that you can have cordial, productive conversations where like people can actually learn things. It doesn't have to be like this all out ad hominem obfuscation battle. So yeah. And also I'll throw this out here as like another kind of olive branch is we kind of got delayed, but we are launching Audit and NASA back up pretty soon. And we're going to create an entire online community that's also going to be in an app. And whether you believe that they're legit or not, right? Everyone should be in favor of like just them giving us more information, right? I'll say this quickly, but if I was a Glober, I would be like pretty pissed about the Artemis mission, for example. I'm like, can we get better graphics? Like, why don't we have more? Well, why do we keep pushing Artemis back? So my idea is to get Globers and flat earthers alike all together to be like, hey, we just demand a little bit more transparency or a little bit more accessibility to information or whatever. I know that a lot of the Globers aren't going to be cool with it. I'm getting a lot of troll hate messages, but please leave it alone. If you don't like it, that's okay. But I'm just throwing that out there, Audit NASA. And then, of course, I'm What's It Gets It on YouTube. So cool. Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Right.
Sorry if I talked too much, though.
No problem. We appreciate you, buddy. Leo, go ahead, take it away. Do you have anything coming up? Closing remarks? Floor is all yours.
The only thing I have coming up is I have a couple of debates to post yet. So I'm going to have those up on my channel probably sometime next week. Other than that, I don't have anything immediate in the works. There might be a stream at some point next week or the week after on something that I find interesting and want to talk about. If I may, there was one thing that Witsit said that I would like to respond to because I hear this not just from flat earthers, but I also hear it from geocentrists and even as a question from people who are just curious. And that is about the expansion of space. So all too often people think that the universe is like some defined physical object with defined edges and it's getting bigger in some otherwise pre-existing space. That's not the case. The universe is not an object. It doesn't have edges. So that's just the wrong way to look at it. The expansion of space is a metric expansion of its scale measured over sufficient distances. So it's over the distances that the expansion is being measured that's really important. In more cosmological terms, the first derivative of the scale factor is a positive number. So it's not
still has to be,
we are at the center of the universe. You would observe from any point in the universe the expansion to be outward from where you're at. So from anywhere in the universe, it's going to look like you're at the center because the expansion is a metric expansion of the scale in space. The first derivative of the scale factor is positive.
Right, that's why I'm saying if you don't believe in accelerative expansion, then the Earth would have to actually be in the center as opposed to just kind of being an illusion. So when Greg Locke said he doesn't believe in that, I'm like, well, I don't think you understand the implications of that. But yeah.
Issa's next. That was supposed to be pithy.
Issa. Go ahead.
Oh, thanks. Okay, so we're talking about kind of what's going on with us in our lives. So I want to actually put a plug in for Modern Day Debates. We have a Discord too. And that's another place where you can have lots of cool conversations and debates. So I'm a moderator there, and I'll be moderating tomorrow at 3:00. Is God necessary for an objective morality? So come check us out there. Download Discord. Join the Modern Day Debates. You'll have a great time there. There's a lot of cool conversations. So that's just all I want to share.
And the Matters Now Discord. Don't forget about that one. You can join multiple, so it's cool. Tyler, any closing remarks?
Yeah, today was a great day. I agreed with Leo and I agreed with Witsit at one point. I never thought that would happen. So I'm always amazed when I come here to Matters Now. It's a great place. It's awesome what you do here, especially getting to see new dimensions of the debaters when they're not like on or in character in their MDD mode. One thing I would just like to point out to Witsit, and I thank you for putting me onto that literature you mentioned. But the globe Earth actually goes back real far. I was just looking into this. Maybe check out the music of the spheres, because in antiquity, one of the spheres was Earth, and there was like a whole thing about that. So just maybe give that a peek if you remember. If you want to get a hold of me, do so in the comments section below. If you don't, please leave me an emoji so I know that that's what you're thinking. It'll help this channel some more with the engagement and the algorithm. Thank you all very thoroughly once again for having me here. I consider you all brand new friends of mine, so I look forward to the.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for being here. And finally, caught in the middle, do you have any final statements, any final remarks? Do you have anything coming up on the interwebs you would like to share?
Yeah, guys. So I've been working on an office, an actual studio here. I started doing the YouTube videos and debating and whatnot, and I decided it was something I really wanted to do. And as a disabled veteran, it's something that I thoroughly enjoyed, and it gave my mind something to push towards. So I started working on a studio. I just pulled the video up for just a moment, but hopefully this gets done soon, and I'm able to start pushing out content daily and really pushing toward this thing and interacting with others and build some sort of platform, you know. So that's what's going on Caught in the Middle 0823 side. And thanks, man. Thanks for having me on for even momentarily.
No, thank you. Thank you for coming along. And we appreciate all of the audience that joined us today. There was a bunch of people in the side chat. There was a bunch of people watching us. I want to thank the panelists again. Thank you, Ocean, for letting me host this show. I had tons of fun. It was absolutely great. I loved every moment of it. I want to thank Witsit for telling me that I looked cool. I actually am cool, so I can confirm that. It was a very good show. To everyone, please click the description on this video and complete the survey. We need some help to finish up adding some questions to prepare our Family Feud game soon. And next Wednesday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, my very own show on Matters Now starts. We still haven't settled on a name, but we are starting Wednesday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's going to be a hell of a show. It's going to be fun, and it's going to be focused on talking about things people wrote, believed about. We're going to talk about mythology, weird things. It's going to have a focus on humor, so it's going to be a little bit of change of pace. I want to thank final time the panelists again. We usually get into some deeper discussions here than the ones that happen on modern day debate, and it's a lot more chill, which a lot of people seem to really appreciate, that it's not maybe the dumpster fire that some of the debates can get. And well, that's our show for today. Thank you everyone so much for being here. Thanks to the moderators, I Killed Earl, Justin, Anathema. I love you, everyone. Oh yes, Ocean, go ahead.
One last thing. So did you talk about our next show on the 16th at 7:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time? We're going to do a pre-show debate. It's going to be about Israel and Palestinian war debate between apostate prophet and Muslim skeptic. I think they're going to argue who is responsible for that war, and that should be very interesting. See how well that goes. If you don't know, Muslim skeptic is Daniel Hakikachu. Yes, and he's the one that.
Yeah, and apostate that's going to be an interesting debate. Like both of them, I don't personally like Daniel Hakikachu, but he's good at debating. Like
it's arguable.
Yeah, I mean, you can like it or not, but I mean, there's a baseline. I mean, he's not great, but I think he's good. He's a hard opponent to go up against too. At least I think that.
Sure.
All right, we're going to be closing up the show. Thank you for that info, Ocean. I hadn't looked at what next shows will be up there. Thank you, everyone, and we'll see you around next time. Take care. Bye-bye.
Peace.